We're talking about doors. If you're driving down the road, if you remember, there's a blind spot right back here in this back quarter. One of the things I did is I went and got a 5-inch by 4-inch convex mirror. And I mounted it to the arms on the outside rearview mirror. And so consequently, I don't have to bend up, look back to check this back quarter before I change lanes.
Is that the one you put a video on Rialta and
I
Friends Rally for?
didn't, but somebody did. And I should have brought my extra mirrors and mounting plates with me, but I didn't think about it. Because I've still got some left. I've installed about 80 of them, and I quit counting.
You can also buy an aspherical mirror, because in Europe, the Eurovan has aspherical mirrors on both sides, so that you can see, it's got that little bend at the end of it, so you can see outside the vehicle.
So I've seen it both ways. Some people prefer to put those at the top corner and some put them on the bottom.
Either place, whatever
That
works.
preference?
Yeah, whatever works.
Well,
There's a bunch of different
walking
options.
makes you
What do
feel
you
most
like?
comfortable.
Depends on where you're sitting in your seat as to where your optimum place would be.
Okay.
Sit high in one place, you sit low in another.
Somebody got these on at this rally that are gonna look at the vehicle? Has anybody got these mirrors mounted yet at
I
this rally?
think
I do.
you do, you got yours.
I've got,
and I-
mine are mounted on the brackets going to the mirror
Yes,
system.
that's where I'm mounted. I think on
Some-
James.
Sometimes
Yeah,
you
I don't
get
know.
stick-ons that go on the mirror itself, but that takes away from the primary mirror.
I got the little stick-ons, about this big, and I put one on each mirror. The ones I got can be rotated, so you can make them actually look out farther if you want to. And it's small enough that it doesn't interfere.
But the type you're talking about is like they're bigger and you put them on those two arms.
Actually, what I did,
Yeah, it's
James'
real.
blue rig has got one
Which
that I
one?
did.
The blue one?
She's got one.
Okay.
And what I did, I fashioned a piece of plastic that is the same size as the mirror, and I actually screwed the plastic to the arms because the glue on the mirror cannot handle the wind blast coming around the side of the rig. At least mine couldn't. So I fashioned a piece of plastic. I drilled and tapped into 2 arms, mounted the plastic on the arms, glued the mirror to the plastic, and I only know of one that's ever come off.
I wanna get that, 'cause that's much bigger than that little
It
bitty
is.
one in the corner. I never look in my mirror itself, I always look at the little bitty one to see if it in that blind
It's a
spot,
safety
that is so
item.
small.
Another thing you
About
can-
that size, it's really.
Another thing you can do that might make you feel a little more comfortable, is you can get these, Fresnel lens.
Fresnel
Oh,
lens, yes.
You get a Fresnel lens and put it in the middle of the back window.
Yes, that will help.
Originally, they were designed for overhead projectors, so that it would take stuff and the projector's huge and all that. What it does is, you glance at that, and I've got, several years ago, at the 3M plant where I worked, they had a scrapping sale, and they had some big ones. They come in different sizes, but they had some really big ones. And they were clearing them out, scrap sale, so they sold them for $1 a piece instead of $20 a piece. So I got them and I cut them in half and found out you can use either half just as well. But like on mine, when somebody's coming up behind me in the other lane, I can see them in that until I can actually see them out the window.
Wow. That's one of those mirrors, it's kinda like,
It's not a mirror, it's
it's
just a
not a
lens.
mirror, it's a piece of plastic.
Yeah.
Magnifying
It's repositionable, it just sticks on the glass.
It's
If you
actually
wanna
got-
move it, you pull it off and stick it somewhere else.
You can look at them and it's gonna look like some curvy lines.
Yeah,
Down
get
in Boston.
wiggly or something. What it is just a whole bunch of concentric pyramids.
On the HDs and the QDs, the gray water dump valve arrangement is not too good. In fact, some of the, some of them are bad. I can talk one-on-one, but I modified the way those 2 models operate their dump valves. And when I finished with them, they worked like they should have to begin with. Whereas on one of them, you had the cable that would rust inside. And then, of course, another easy way of doing it is get the thing open, but you can get a short extension and put on your existing connector, and it's got a valve. That's an easy way of doing it. Otherwise, you go in and rearrange it, and it's quite an ordeal, but I've done a lot of them. And they work good, but that's the easy way, is to get the extension with the dump valve, and takes care of it. Plus, it makes your connection for a hose closer to the outside, a lot easier to get to.
And I've looked at quite a few of them, and the biggest problem is that Winnebago did not follow the installation instructions for the cable.
Believe that.
I got a new cable for mine. It says no turn should be less than a 2-foot radius. What Winnebago did, right behind the handle, it goes in about 6 inches and it turns about 90 degrees. That right there is the biggest problem. So what I ended up doing is I put the new cable on, but I moved the handle over towards the front about 1.5 feet in order to keep that radius in there.
Yes,
It works fine now.
and the problem is that outside, it looks like a spring. When you bend it too much, water gets in there,
Yep.
and it's a steel cable inside, and it rusts, and then it sticks, and then it doesn't work. It's a real poor design, but that's what it is. There's a whole bunch of different ways to modify that to make it easier.
People have actually, and I guess you can do it in any of them, but it's slightly different variations of the way you do it. But you can actually turn the dump valve around
That's the way I did
and
it.
have a direct connection to it.
Straight pull.
Just have a straight rod going in. That's the way I
I
did it.
modified the QD. The one on the QD is already turned around. Fine.
It's pointed to the opposite driver's side.
Okay, well, I turned it around, and it's got a little bit of clearance before the main cross member there,
Yeah.
main support member. And so what I did was I took a rod, I don't know, 2.5 feet long, something like that, I threaded the end of it, got it in there, and then the rod that I put in actually came out kind of U-shaped. So it goes around that member, but then it's got room to.
So for some reason, every time I go to dump, and so when I take off on the main and take my lever off, there's always water in there.
Okay.
It is
First of all,
not from the black.
What is your model number? What-
HD, 2002 HD. It is definitely not from the black because it's clear water. It's got to be from the gray. Well, the previous owner had modified mine, something about where more of it dumps to the gray instead of the black, so we wouldn't have to dump the black.
Probably
as
ran
often.
the shower over
Shower
the gray,
discharge.
which is
Okay.
wrong, but they did it.
But anyway, he did that, and then now I'm thinking that valve doesn't get pushed all the way in,
Probably
and that's
not.
what causes it to go in there. Is there any way to correct that? Is that due to that bend?
That could be part of it.
Maybe it just needs
But
new valve.
inside the valve, you can buy the valve itself, you don't have to buy all the surrounding stuff, just the valve itself, but it's a sheet of plastic that has a threaded piece where the rod goes. And that's what hooks to the spring looking thing.
Okay.
And then the sides that go onto it, there's 4 bolts that hold it all together. The sides that go on have little rubber washers in them. And you can get something stuck in one of those rubber washers so that they call it a blade. So the blade won't go all the way closed, and that'll hang up and you get a little dribble. The rubber seals can go bad.
Right.
They can get hard, crack.
For about $35, you can change both of them.
Yeah.
And if I'm gonna go to the trouble of getting down and changing one of them, the other one's right there with it, change them both, because there's money ahead.
They are different sizes, you
Right.
gotta get the 3.
3 and 1.5.
And you can close the valves, open the main discharge, and run water in the sink, and test the valves that way, before you start tearing into it.
Oh, okay.
So if you have everything closed, and you open your discharge, put fresh water down the sink, if you get water coming out, it's one of those valves.
Oh.
Easy
okay.
test.
Great. Like we say, try to keep it simple.
Keep it simple.
Operating them is hard enough as it is, so the simpler the better.
You've got to dream big, or don't dream at all.